So, hello and welcome to Wise Women Weekdays. Hannah and I, this is Hannah Cummins with me today, are going to continue our talk on human design. So, if you want to check out the first chat all about human design, that the link's below. And I'm here as your wise woman today, and Hannah's here as our guest. So Hannah is a human design expert, and she's also my niece, and she is also we're business partners as well. We run a handpicked life, and a human design is becoming more and more an integral part of everything that we do. So we'd like to go a little bit deeper into it. So if you haven't watched part one, it's absolutely fine. You can catch up another time because it's a kind of system that you can go into at any angle, any level, and learn a lot about yourself and other people, and to be able to really appreciate diversity as well, and how we all have our unique way of expressing and living and our unique purpose. So I'm Lianne Campbell. I'm a life and wellbeing coach, and I specialize in somatic practices. And my passion with human design's all about reconditioning. And for me, when it comes to reconditioning, deconditioning what we know and reconditioning in a completely different way, the quickest way to do that is through somatic practice, so body felt experiences, and using tools and techniques such as yoga, EFT, EMDR, meditation. There's so many different ways that we can actually really get into the subconscious to change. So without further ado, I'm going to pass you over to Hannah, and today we're going to talk about energy types, are we? The energy types within human design. Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah.
please subscribe, press the button now if you'd like to have more chats with the wise women. There's 13 of us all together. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoy this, comment, and now I'll hand you over to Hannah. So welcome, Hannah. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me again. And I also feel like I need to welcome you all to my bedroom because my in true Mercury retrograde style, my internet in my office is not playing at the moment. So unfortunately, video calls are being held from here. But okay. Yeah, we just go with it apparently. So, but yeah, I am an astrologer and a human design reader and a life coach as well. I've been studying those for about 4 years now. And yeah, we really thought so. In our last conversation, we really just talked about the bigger picture of like why human design is a system that we should be looking at this moment in time, and the purpose of the reason why it's here. But really today, I thought we could have a little chat about the energy types in human design, which is basically determined by your birth time and a few different things that I won't go into. And essentially, your energy type really is the most important thing for you to understand in human design, because once you understand your unique energy type, you then understand how you exchange energy with the world around you. And when you understand how you're uniquely designed to do that, then that's when we find flow. So the theory with human design, again, is like everything that we want, everything that we're interested in, everything that's meant for us is in like an energetic vibrational holding pattern above us. And when we're conditioned to believe that we have to use our energy in a certain way, which isn't right for us, then we're kind of filling up our aura with all of the gunk that kind of like blocks things coming through to us, the things that are meant for us to come through. So really, human design is about deconditioning and kind of getting out of our own way and learning how to exchange energy with the world around us in a way that's meant for us. And when we do that, then that's when we can kind of like open up for everything to kind of come through. So that's really where the deconditioning process with human design comes in, because it's really about understanding, that a lot of our success languaging is only often meant for a certain type, and there's a reason for that. So we'll have a little look at that today and how we can start to understand, our unique strategies. It's also really helpful to understand for like in relationships as well, and like helping you to understand other people in your life and how they work. I think when I understood my partner's human design and also one of my sisters, because hers is a lot different to the rest of my family's. It was really interesting, and that's really how it really helped me in my relationships as well. And I know it's been massively beneficial for you as well, kind of learning how to use yours as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I can't. It's been a really big piece of the jigsaw puzzle, and because I kind of, it's when you because I'm interested in other systems as well, and I really get that thing that it's often the people that have got that leadership quality within their design, that they will write the books, they'll create the systems. So then we end up following a system that suits a certain type, and it's very true for them. But for a lot of us, it's really not. So yeah, I've just really and it adds another layer of human design. But what I also love about it seems to encompass everything. It's all there within it. So as a system, it's really simple to follow and get results with really quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We probably should mention in this conversation, we did mention it in the last one, but for the people who haven't watched that, so human design is a synthesis of ancient modalities and modern science. So it's a combination of astrology and the I Ching from the ancient Chinese philosophy, which is like a 6,000-year-old oracle system. It's based on the Judaic tree of life, the Hindu Brahmin chakra system. It's also based in epigenetics, quantum mechanics, and a lot of different other sciences as well. So it's a very, very like unique system, which basically tells us gives us an understanding of our unique energy and how we're uniquely designed to operate in the world. Um, let's dive into the energy types then. So basically in human design, there are 5 energy types, and energy types are aura types. So this is a really, really important thing to understand. These aren't necessarily personality types. They're the way our aura mechanically works and exchanges energy with the universe. So I'm going to use like a building site analogy to kind of give you an understanding of like how these energies are designed to work, but they're not like these aren't the roles that these people are here to play as such. Like we have generators who are leaders, we have reflectors who are like business people at the top of corporations. Like it's not to say that these are like limiting roles, but they're just a really interesting way to kind of demonstrate the purpose of that energy and what it's here to do. So I just want to make that super clear before we dive in. um let's kick off with manifestors then. So manifestors are roughly about 9% of the population. And in the building site analogy, the manifestor is like the architect. They're the people. So manifestors are often like in the past, they were the kings, the queens, the spearheads of movement in like the last era that we had, which was all about like collective energy. So the purpose and the old karma of a manifestor was really for them to be here to be leaders, right? But that's not really the case for them anymore. Their karma for that energy type has shifted, and they're kind of just here to be very individualistic and to kind of just be left alone. They're not really designed to be in those leadership positions anymore. Often in the past, it was like manifestors oppressing everybody. And that has really, really shifted in this new cycle, which began in 1781, which we spoke about more in the other video. But manifestors are a type, they're here to begin things. They are the initiatory spark and they create energy. So they are the types that are going to kind of like, they're here to feel an urge and act on it. They have a closed and repelling aura, and they are completely individualistic, and they're not here to be influenced by other people at all. So really, like manifestors have very big energy. And especially if you're a parent of a manifestor, this can be something that's quite a challenge, because you kind of, they're not really here to be told what to do. And it's a really helpful thing, actually, if you do have children, to kind of understand their design and how you can kind of create an environment for that energy type to thrive, particularly because manifestors really are here to just act on impulses and urges and not really be told that's wrong, that's bad. So the mechanics of a manifestor really, like, they are they are the kind of type, so like as an architect, their role as an architect, they're really here to kind of get an urge, act on it, and their strategy to how to use their energy is to just inform. So they're really here to just let people know, I've had this urge, this is what I'm going to do, and then people can come along with them for the ride. So they are the people who are going to like bring an idea in and like kind of start it, but they're not necessarily always going to have the energy to see the thing through as well. And that's like the role of an architect, right? Like they come up with the idea, they're like in it all at the beginning, and then they just kind of leave, and then everybody else finishes off the job. That's kind of their role. So their energy works in fits and starts. They're either at 200% or they're at 10%, and they're literally just horizontal. So they're really inconsistent as well. So you can start to kind of understand how, especially in our like modern day world, when we're kind of expected to be a lot more consistent and the same every day, like working a 9 to 5, for example, it's not really energetically set up for a manifester. Manifestors, like this analogy is one that my human design teacher uses for manifestors, and I really love this. And basically, the manifestors are kind of like the people who are going to be like, right, I'm a train driver and I'm decided that I'm going to go to Paris, and they make an announcement on the platform like, this train's going to Paris, who wants to come with me? And then the people that want to go to Paris get on the plane, and the people that don't want to go to Paris don't get on the train. So basically their strategy to inform is to basically let people know what they're doing, so they can bring the right people on board, so they can then see the thing through that they initiate. And this can be on a small scale, like wanting to go to the beach, or like a big scale, like starting a business. Is this making sense so far? Yeah. So basically, they're really designed to be that kind of, they're here to begin things. They're here to bring people along for the ride. And a lot of the other types, which we'll get into in the moment, they really kind of set things up for them. So like generators are here to respond. They're not necessarily here to like bring something new into existence. So then when the manifestor initiates, then the generator can decide whether or not they want to come along for the ride or not. So it's really about them kind of beginning stuff. And what is really important for a manifestor to do is to kind of get to know their cycle. So those kind of fits and starts of energy cycles of like 200% and 10% is really like very, very, very personal to a manifestor. And these can be like on a huge scale. So they can be like at 200% for 2 or 3 months a year, and then at 0% for the rest of the year. Or it can be in the day, they'll be like at 200% for a few hours, and then for the rest of the day they just really need to rest, and they don't have access to consistent energy in that way. So it's really important for them to kind of really allow for that, and that's really where their energy is going to start to thrive. So for manifestors, like Adele is an amazing example for of a manifestor. So if you look at her albums, she's got like one, I'm not an Adele fan, so I can't name these. I've just heard other human design readers talk about her, but she has like an album which is like 18, and she'll bring out an album, she'll do a world tour, she'll be everywhere, and then she'll just disappear for years. And then her next album was like 23, and they're the ages of her life. So like when she's that age, that's when she brings those albums out. So you can actually really see in her patterning, that's really a manifestor imbalance. She's there, she's 200%, she's doing everything, and then she completely disappears, and no one sees or hears from her for a really long period of time. So that's kind of an example of how that can work. And really the strategy of a manifestor is to kind of notice when they feel that urge inside of them, like, I want to do this. And it can be super, super small scale as well, like call your mum, or I want to get up and go to the park, and I don't know why, but that's just what I want to do. And they just need to act on it immediately. But the strategy for them is to inform. And that is because manifestors have big energy, and it's really energy that's here to kind of begin things and initiate things. And it's almost like a disruptive energy when it's not in balance, because it's very, very strong. If they don't let people know what they're doing, that's when it creates friction in their lives. So again, it's just really important for them to just literally let people know, like, just so you know, I've decided that I'm going to do this personal training course and this is what I'm going to do. And it's not asking for permission, but it's letting people know, because then it softens the blow of that energy around other people. But then they also then open up their energy and open up the opportunity for people to get on board with them, if that's correct for them.
Yeah.
The signature for a manifester is feeling peace. So when they're in balance, when they're exchanging energy with the universe, every type has a signature emotion, which is a sign that they're on the right path. So when manifestors are feeling that emotion of peace, that is really when they are aligned. And they're not self-theme, which is when when we feel these emotions, that's when we really know that we're not using our energy in a way that's correct for us. Then they're going to feel anger. So anger is that kind of emotion, which is going to like, I don't know, it's anger with the manifestor is interesting. So when we're feeling angry, and it's like, it's not frustration, which is like a frustration of energy, it is anger. But then there is an element, like my partner's a manifestor, and sometimes when he makes decisions, there's an air of like angriness to them, where he's like, when he quit smoking once, he was like, I'm quitting smoking. And I'm like, okay, right, that's fine. And there is a harshness sometimes to their energy. So I think that's a little bit nuanced, but when they're feeling anger, when they're feeling like that hot inside of them, that's really a sign that they're not probably being individualistic enough, because really a lot of their conditioning will be them kind of dulling down their energy and playing small, because that's been so disruptive to other people in the past, and they've not liked that's really where that conditioning is, like trying to fit in and also like playing small and not being as disruptive. And that's a lot of conditioning that often comes from childhood as well, because again, challenge like parenting a manifestor with the big energy that they have is definitely a challenge. So as children, they often learn to really dull down their energy and try to be smaller than they are. But really for manifestors, it's just about acting on those urges, even when they don't make sense, even when they are just completely random. And when we're not having any urges at all, that's really time for them to just rest, play, and just wait for the next one to come.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, and you can see also in our culture that's it's a challenge for children as manifestors, because we've got very clear systems of this is how you do it. And it's we have a very linear way of doing everything. That you do this, you don't be a quitter, you carry on, you see it through. And actually that is something, with looking at lots of different systems over the years, realizing that, these sayings that we have in our culture, of that being, or labels, don't be a quitter. You've got to see things through. If you've started, you should finish it. And again, it can be so damaging, because then you do get conditioned into thinking, well, I'm lazy, or I just haven't got it. I've not got the staying power, and that's a bad thing. So it's refreshing to suddenly go, oh, you know what? It's
Yeah.
and what I love about them, and I don't know if we'd said in the beginning, there's like, you're going to give an overview, and then there's the strategy. Is that no, not the strategy,
Yeah, so your strategy is really how you're uniquely designed to exchange energy with the world, and like the strategy for your specific energy type. We
yeah.
also have your authority, which is how you make decisions. So that's not something we're going to go into today, because it's a little bit nuanced with each type.
Oh, okay.
And there's many different strategies, so we won't go into that. So really your strategy is how you're uniquely designed to exchange energy, but it's not necessarily how you make decisions. And that's something that you can kind of look at as a separate entity. And it will tell you that if you look up your human design chart on my body graph or genetic matrix, it will give you that information.
Okay, so again, that's a collage, because you said signature then, actually. So the signature, strategy, and authority. Okay, that's something else that's just fallen into place for me now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
okay. So
human
the
design is like
signature is,
vast.
huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I was saying human design is like vastly complex as well. Like
Yeah.
there's your profile, there's the energy centers you have to find, there's the gates, which are your gifts, there's your life purpose, there's the channels, the meridians that kind of link the energy centers. So it's so like this is just scratching the surface. However, again, as we mentioned in the last conversation that we had, at the highest level, it's just so simple. And that's why I love human design, because even though there's so much to dive into, also, if you just understand your energy type and use your strategy and authority to navigate life, you live out the rest of your chart naturally anyway. So you don't necessarily need to understand it. So that's why, like, energy type, even though it is the simplest thing, it is also like, it is also the most useful and most practical part of human design as well.
Yeah, and I think that that's what I've found, like just having those, working with the signature, the strategy and authority, which I
Yeah.
now know what the labels are, but working with those things, um, it it is actually enough. And then you get to the point, like now I've just started looking at the lines. So it's like, okay, I want to bring this in now. And then, and that's, it's a lovely way because you can just keep going and exploring and getting curious.
Mhm.
And then beginning to understand other types and what they mean. Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
really.
just for the overall as well. So there's manifestors, generators,
Yeah, so we've got
reflectors.
manifestors, generators, manifesting generators, projectors, and reflectors. So we'll go into all of those today. So
Yeah,
I would recommend, like, probably should have said this before I went into manifestors, but pull up your chart, pull up the friends and families charts, like have a look at what energy types you have in your life. And really then you can kind of start to play and create environments for other people to thrive as well. So like my partner is not into human design at all, he does not care. But because I understand his energy type and I know when he has an urge, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I want to play too. Let's go do that thing. So like you can start to really understand them, and actually knowing that sometimes he's at 10% and he just needs to be horizontal, and I have consistent energy and I need to be okay with that. So
yeah,
like there's so many things when you start to understand the other people in your life as well, then you can be like, oh cool, okay, you go do that thing. That's not personal. That's not something, that's not a problem we need to work on in our relationship. Actually, it's just something that we can understand about each other and then thrive together. So,
yeah. And I think as well, when you learn about systems, especially in relationships, often what you want to do is get somebody else to understand themselves. And what I
mhm,
would say is the more you get to know them and you appreciate them and you do it, just like you said, you kind of recognize it. So you're actually, you you'll naturally bring it into your relationship just by you understanding, because it only takes one person to change a relationship. So, and that's
yeah,
what again, this is why these systems, it's not about putting people in boxes, because it's never like that. There's always the nuances, there's always the uniqueness of what your life experience has been, what what element you are, what your star, everything that goes to making you you. But it's just having that little bit more. It's like understanding a culture. You understand somebody's culture and you
mhm,
understand a whole lot more about them and what
yeah,
makes them what they are and make the decisions. And I think that what's so beautiful about this, it is universal and it'll be expressed in so many different ways depending on where you're from and what your life has presented you with so far, the challenges you've had, the experiences you had. So yeah, it's
yeah,
endless. Yeah,
yeah,
because that's the
absolutely.
one
Yeah.
thing with I kind of go away from it because I don't like the box, and it's just reminding it's nothing to do with being put in a box. It's about
Mhm.
drawing out the uniqueness in somebody. So even now knowing manifestors, because I know three manifesting generator, well, yeah, three, who are completely different, completely, but I can see the qualities and how they're expressed. So yeah, it's important
Yeah.
to remember that.
Manny Gens are interesting characters for sure. They're
I know.
we'll get into that as well. And I feel so sorry for them because, there's a lot of conditioning to kind of tell them that they're wrong and bad. And like that's a really hard one to overcome for them as well. I have quite a few in my life.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, let's go to projectors first because I want to kind of keep this building site analogy in order because I'm a I'm a metal element. That's what I like. I like order. So um so projectors are roughly 16% of the population, and projectors are the newest type and they're on the rise. So they are much they're a much smaller size of the population now, but they're an energy type that are becoming more and more common and more needed, which is super interesting. And I'll explain a little bit why I think that is. But basically, projectors are like the project managers of the building site. So they're really people who are going to jump on board with a manifester. There's something that's already been initiated potentially, and they're really here to projectors have a bird's eye view of life. So they're really here to, they see everything from a higher vantage point that nobody else has, nobody else is able to see. So they are the people who are gonna, they have a absorbing aura and they have a penetrative aura. So they're really people who are here to kind of direct and be like, right, okay, you're good at this, you go do this, then I think that I can see that this is what the problem is here for you. So if you go and do that thing, then that's how you're going to do well. And they're really here to like organize, and they really see things in a way that nobody else does. Because they have that penetrating aura, their strategy is to wait for the invitation. And this, for projectors, is the most empowering thing they'll ever learn, and also the thing that they'll probably hate to hear when they first hear about the energy type. A lot of projectors are kind of gutted when they hear that this is really like how their energy is designed to operate. And what I would say is this is the human design experiment. Like that is what the system is called. So don't take this for textbook. If it feels disempowering, like just go and play with it and understand why and how your energy works, and then put it into practice and see how much more flow you find in your life. And often you'll find an imbalanced projector who kind of figured this out a while ago, often as a child, and you'll really see how they're using it. It's quite fascinating. But basically, because projectors see so much, because they have such a bird's eye view of life, when they share everything that they see, but people aren't ready to receive it, and because they have such a strong and penetrating aura, that information cannot be received well. So really, like for projectors, it's super important that they wait to be invited to share their insights. Otherwise, it kind of falls on deaf ears. So a lot of the conditioning for projectors can be bossy or kind of speaking out of turn, or like they'll just kind of feel unseen and unheard because people aren't responding to the things that they have to share. And that must be super frustrating, because when they see so much and they know, then they can see how people can do things better and understand all of these things that none of us have quite got to yet. It must be pretty hard to then feel like you can't share that. But really, when you kind of understand the purpose of your energy, like you're the people who are here to see, and when people are ready, then they're going to ask you, like, what do you think? What's your opinion on this? I really need some help. And really, they're here to, the purpose of a projector is to, they're almost like the new leaders. And again, this is energetic. This isn't like a role that they're here to play, but it's just helpful to kind of understand and like explain. So like now, I think because we're not living, so generators are the worker bees of society, and they're the people here to do the doing, right? And projectors are more like kind of here to direct and guide and be like, you go do this, you go do this. But because more and more of that doing is now being kind of taken over by, automation and AI and things like that, there's less need for those worker bees, and there's more need for people to kind of like organize and create systems and things like that. So that's really the role of a projector. And they can often make incredible coaches as well, because they see so deeply into people that they can really, especially when they're working with a generator, the generator projector relationship is such a nice relationship, because often the projector can really see what the generator needs to do to thrive, and they can really direct them. And then the generator kind of gives the projector energy. Projectors do not have consistent energy, again, so they are types that need a lot more rest, and they're really here to kind of hone their craft and get really, really, really good at one thing. And then they're here to kind of just, again, direct and guide. They're not necessarily the doers. So they don't have consistent energy. And that's not to say that they need to like, there's a bit of a misconception with projectors that they just need to nap all the time. And that's not necessarily the case. But it's basically what it is to say is that output time that the amount of energy that they can output into the world on a day-to-day basis is a lot less than other people's. So really, like when they're kind of like guiding, directing, and helping people, that's really how they're outputting. But really, they're only energetically designed to do that for a couple of hours a day. But then the rest of the time, like it doesn't mean that they're kind of just sat on their couch or doing nothing, but then they can really spend a lot of that time to kind of invest in themselves and like hone their craft and really kind of get good at something. So while a projector's kind of waiting for the invitation, waiting for that recognition of someone to invite them to kind of share what they know, or like, you know, even as a like someone who has a business, for example, like to be on podcasts, to want to kind of like reach out, it's energetically incorrect for them to initiate. That's what manifestors are here to do. And that's what a lot of old kind of paradigm success languaging is around, is like, go out there, just do it, make it happen. But that's completely energetically incorrect for a projector, because they have that intense energy that kind of like is penetrative. It's more for them to be seen for that craft that they've honed down so well, like almost like be recognized for that, and then they get the invitations. So instead of them kind of going out and reaching out to people and trying to build relationships and initiating, really they're just kind of here to be seen and just hone, and like, you know, they can shine on social media and share what they know in that way. But and then when people start to recognize them as an authority, then they'll invite them. So it's a little bit of a, like, they're a new type, so we're not super set up for them, and I don't think we also necessarily like really understand, like we don't necessarily like understand this energy type. We don't, in our society, we don't really allow for this, or we don't have a lot of kind of languaging to help projectors understand this, apart from in this system. But I have seen a lot of projectors in my life really shift how they're using their energy and by applying this strategy, and really seen huge transformation in their lives as well. So does that make sense to you? How does that land?
It does, because our daughter's a projector, so and I can see that even from being really little. Actually, she does wait to be invited. She's always very quiet, and but then often will walk away from a situation, and the wisdom that came out of what she'd seen and seeing
Mhm.
people and really clear. It's yeah, and having, and also having that, you know, she knows what she loves, and it is that one thing. And I've often been like, why don't you try this? Keep your options open, do this, and it's just like, no, this is, and it's actually really helpful to hear that as well. You know, to know, okay, this is her path. She knows what she's doing. She's got such a clarity about it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
don't. I think
And
she's
like,
the only projector I know, because again, I don't really, I've never met any others, but I can see those qualities really clear.
Molly's a projector as well, my youngest
It's more,
sister.
oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah. And it's interesting to see the two of them, like,
yeah,
because Anu always had that, like, again, she really waits for the invitation. And we always laugh with Molly because we call it, I have two sisters, and we're like the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil monkeys. And Molly's this one
yeah,
because
okay.
she even says the wrong thing. And when she does, you really see that not work for her, like,
Yeah,
and like bounce back. And that's really, been her kind of learning, is like, waiting for the invitation can often be how, and again, it sounds disempowering. And I really don't want anyone, especially when they're a projector, to think this, because when I've seen projectors put this into practice, it completely changed their lives. Like, it is one of those things that it's just when you understand how your energy works. And again, it's not because you don't, what you're trying to share doesn't have value. And that's often where their conditioning can come in and be like, like, why would anybody listen to me? I don't have anything important to share. Nobody cares about the things that I have to say. And it's like, well, no, because it's not because what you're saying is bad, but it's because when your energy is so intense, people aren't ready to receive that. So it's actually, you see things so much, like you have so much wisdom to share, but you just need to learn, like, right place, right time. But really waiting for the invitation is just like, a lot of the time, just don't solicit advice. Wait for people to just ask your opinion, and then the invitation is there.
yeah.
Again, there's loads more to like waiting for the invitation and how to use projector energy, but I don't want to talk for too long because we've been talking for half an hour already. So, but
I think
there's
as
so much
well,
more.
it's like it's so rich, every bit of information. It's better to layer it anyway. It's just like, okay, I mean, even now, I mean, it's been with me for quite some time, this, but I'm still only just managing to segregate different bits of information. Go, okay, it's dropping in now, and it's making more sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Yeah.
what's
So, oh yeah.
signature of a
Yes, their signature is success. So projectors are a funny one because you kind of don't know how successful a projector's been until the end of their life. I think the Queen was a projector, an imbalanced projector. And it's really interesting because like when you see like, when somebody passed like in later life, that's when you can really see like how the impact of their life. But success really is when like things are flowing and like things are doing well. So when they're succeeding in business, when life is flowing, um when they're doing well in their career, things like that. Like that's often when we can really see when a projector is in balance. And when they're not experiencing that, that's often when that's when they're not using their energy correctly. That's when they're kind of like, kind of pushing against themselves. And their not self theme is bitterness. And this is so clear in a projector when you can see it. Like they get really bitter. And that's often that I'm not being seen, I'm not being heard. And then they get really, like, again, angry is not the right word because that's
yeah.
manifestors. But like, they get really, really bitter. And any projector you tell that to, they just recognize it instantly.
Mm.
Um, so again, a good one to know. And when we feel that emotion, when we notice that within ourselves, all it is our protective quality that's telling us something's not right here. You're not using your energy in a way that's working for you. And if you change that, then that's when you'll start to kind of move more towards that signature emotion.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's
Um,
what I like as well, that there's that tough love friend with you. It's like when you're feeling this, it's not that life's let you down. You're just being told. It's the friend going, "Oi, come on, you're off track. Get yourself back on. Make some different decisions." And
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
absolutely. So then we have manifesting generators and generators. So these are both generator types and they're both ruled by the gut. We'll start with generators. So generators are the builders, the worker bees of society. And that is only because they have what is called a defined sacral center, which is basically our gut. And that means they create life force energy. And when they create overspills of that energy, then they give that energy to the rest of the world. So if you have a defined sacral center, you will always be a generator type, always. And basically, a generator is really here to follow what lights them up. And when they do that, they create more life force and then they create the overspill for the rest of the world. When they're doing things that they are getting, that don't feel right for them, when they're doing things that deplete their energy, when they're doing things that are out of alignment for them, then that sacral energy and that life force depletes and they don't have anything to contribute. They get tired, they get burnt out, they really, really struggle. And that's really kind of like their karma in this lifetime is to really learn how to use their gut to determine what's a yes for them, what's a no for them. And when they do that, then that's really what they have, like that's when they can really make their best contribution. So the founder of human design, Ra, said that if every generator could get into alignment, most of the problems in the world would go away. And that's really a kind of a testament to show, like, even though they're the most common, they're like the 70% of the population, half generators, half manifesting generators, so 35% each. So they're by far the most common types. And just because it's the most common doesn't mean it's like the least special. I'm a generator and I love being a generator. It's my favorite type. So basically the generator strategy is to wait to respond. So they have an open, enveloping, and magnetic aura. So again, it's not the manifestor strategy of go out there, just do it, initiate, make it happen. It's really about them kind of getting into alignment or just being still, waiting for that aura to magnetize things towards it. And then they are always ruled by the gut. So even though they will have an authority that might be different to this, that will make their final decision, then they always have that gut to check in with to say, yes, that's right for me, or no, that's not right for me. And the gut speaks in black and white, yes or no. And it speaks in like, so a lot of like old human design rhetoric can be like, the gut will speak in like an uh-huh or an uh-uh. And I don't know, I don't really get that, but I get that feeling of like visceral physical excitement or contraction and like no, that's not right for me. So really, the gut speaking to a generator is always a physical, visceral experience. And so it's really very personal. And I would say to a generator, really kind of check in and use that gut to determine, like, is this a yes for me or is this a no for me? It only speaks in the moment as well. So it can be like, do you want pizza or pasta tonight? So for a generator, like, to ask them, what do you want for dinner tonight, is the worst thing you can do, because they need something to respond to. So they're here to magnetize things to them, and then they can be like yes or no. But they're not really here to kind of like create, like go out there and like think of a thing. They need to respond to something, and then they know what to do. Then they know what the next steps are. So they're really designed to be in response to life. They're really here to dance with life. And what's quite nice about being a generator is you don't really need to kind of, I mean, for me to learn this, I didn't have to go out there and initiate that. I could literally just kind of wait for things to come to me. And then when I saw the thing, I got clarity. So it can literally be like, generators, it's not like projectors where they wait for an invitation and it has to be a direct invitation, like, can you come and share something with me? Generators is a little bit different, because it's more about waiting to respond. So you could be like, I want to think of a business idea, but I don't know what to do. Instead of going out there and doing all the research and preparing, actually the best thing for a generator to do often is just wait. And then they might see an advert on Instagram and they're like, oh my God. And then they go on and they look at the thing and they're like, I've now got an idea for my business. And it's not necessarily that they're going to replicate that, but they've seen something that they've responded to that they know that they want. And it can be a fragment thing. And then they get the clarity. And then that's time when they get a yes, when they get that visceral feeling of a yes in their body, then they throw their energy into it. And that's really what's correct for a generator. When they're doing things that aren't energetically correct for them. So all of the conditioning for a generator is often like, you need to go out, you must do the thing that's right, and you must go and do this because that's, you must do your history work because that's the right thing to do, because you need a good education. Like for them, like when they're doing stuff that's a no for them, that depletes their energy, then that's really like a lot of their conditioning comes from thinking they have to do things because that makes them a good person. And a lot of generators, they are people who, because they have energy, then a lot of people will come and ask them for things like, would you mind helping me with this? Or would you, come to this party or whatever. And because they're seen as a type that has energy, because they have that defined sacral center that creates energy, then people will often draw on them and ask them to do things. And as a generator, the biggest thing for them to learn is to say no if they're not getting if they're not feeling excited by it. And that can be a really difficult thing to do. And that's like one of the hardest things for a generator to learn, is to kind of clear out all of the no's from their life. And it doesn't have to be this drastic thing like, I'm not going to go see my grandma anymore because I don't like it. I'm not going to go to dinner at my parents' house or my boyfriend's parents' house or whatever. But it's like having a look at what are the small things that you can start to get rid of. Like, maybe I really don't like doing the dishes, but I like cooking. So I'm going to do the cooking and I'm going to get my partner to do the dishes, and kind of just clearing out all of those tiny little things you're getting a no for. And those bigger things can wait. Like you don't have to be perfect straight away, but it's all about like what's the 0.1% you can do just to kind of get rid of some of those no's, so you can fill up or create more space for those yeses to come to you. Because when we don't, as generators, when we don't have space in our aura to magnetize the things that are right for us, and we're filling them up, we're filling our aura up with all of the no's, then we can't, like the things that are meant for us can't come to us. So really, as a generator, one of the hardest things to do is do nothing. But if you're not getting anything coming to you that's a yes, then really sitting in stillness is the best possible thing that you can do. Making sense? Shall I move on to Manigens?
Yeah, just a signature. Would a signature for manifest?
Yeah. Yeah. So a signature for a generator is satisfaction. So it's feeling like, because you're a type that creates energy, you have consistent energy, you have that solar energy that if you're doing things you love, you're going to be able to just keep going all the time. And if you're not feeling that way, it's because you're not using your energy correctly. But if there's the signature for a generator is satisfaction, because it's that feeling of I've spent my energy well, that feeling when you're like, I really enjoyed today and that felt really, really good. And the not self-theme for a generator is frustration. So they are like, frustration can be an emotion, like I'm frustrated, I'm not getting anywhere, why is life not flowing? But it's also like a frustration of energy, like the energy has nowhere to go, and it's not, nothing's flowing. So it can be feelings of frustration, but it can also just be that energetic frustration, like I have this energy and it can't get it out.
Mm.
Because there's nowhere for it to go that's correct. That's really where we're going to find flow in life. So yeah, again, generators wait to respond and notice when that frustration is happening. And if you're not following that gut of like, yes, I love this, this is right, I want to go do this. If you're really not paying attention to that, that's really going to deplete you. So Manigens are very, very similar in the sense that they're ruled by the gut. They have that visceral response of a yes or no in their body. They are, again, that life force. They create energy, but Manigens are a little bit different. So generators are the builders that are going to build all of the basements on the building site. And then they're going to build all of the first floors. And then they're going to build all of the second floors. Whereas so that like generator energy is a lot more steady and consistent, and a generator is probably going to specialize in something. They're probably going to have a one thing that they love. Manigens are here to be multi-passionate. So and their energy works quickly. And again, this is not a personality type. This is how your energy works. So like I know Lianne, your partner, he's a Manigen. And it's interesting because he's quite a slow and intentional person as a personality type, but it's really about your energy. So Manigens are going to be like basement, first floor, put the doors on, put the windows on, second floor, like roof, maybe do a garden, and then we're going to go build the road, and then we'll do the next basement. So they're really kind of here to be quicker. They're here to be the move on from things quickly is really what they're here to do, not actually be quick in their action. So they are the people who are here to be multi-passionate. They're probably going to do a lot of different things. And because they learn quickly, they're probably a type that will do 3 horse riding lessons and be like, okay, I've got the life skills I need for this. I'm bored now. I want to move on. And this is where like Manigens often have a lot of conditioning around that being a bad thing. And it's really not the case for them, because they learn quickly, they get what they need from the situation. And then in 20 years, those skills from those 3 horse riding lessons that they took when they were 10 are suddenly going to be relevant in their life. So, I mean, that's just an example, but really for a manifesting generator, like they need to learn to trust that they're being led with their boredom. So when they're excited about something, when they're lit up, when they're getting the gut telling them that this is a yes, they need to follow it, throw their energy into it. But as soon as they're bored, it's fine for them to move on. And that's really their conditioning. It's to just trust and know that they're going to be led in the right direction if they just follow that. And that can be hard. Like I think it can be because of the conditioning of the way that we live. But as soon as you start to follow it, like as soon as you start to open up flow, and this is what I was talking about before about like what's the 0.1% you can do, like you don't have to change your life overnight, but if you can just start to do this, you start to open things up, you start to see flow anyway. Like the universe is going to start communicating with you because you're using your energy in a way that's right for you. So like you don't need to worry too much about, like, oh, but I'm doing all of these things that I have to do. But if you just start to make those tiny changes, you're kind of signaling to the universe that you're ready. And then those bigger ones just get easier as time goes on. Managers are really here. Oh, go on.
So do they have the same signature as a generator?
Yes. Yeah. So the signature of satisfaction and then that feeling of frustration. And they're really just here to teach us how to be square pegs in round holes. Like they're going to be really different. They're going to just want to do their own thing. I have a friend who's a Manigen who was doing like pro dominatrix stuff, and then she had this pink sparkly bird out to bliss business, and she makes cakes and she's pole dancer, and you're just like, you have so many interests, it's actually crazy, but it kind of all just makes her. But that's really like that multi-passionate kind of quality is really what sets Manigens and generators apart. And the fact that they're going to learn and move on a lot more quickly, and their life is probably going to look like a little bit like a mess, and that's a good thing for them. And that's really what they're here to teach us.
Yeah.
Cool. And then finally, last but certainly not least, we have reflectors. So reflectors in this building site analogy are like the interior designers. They're the people that kind of come into a space and they feel what's happening in a space and they can reflect back exactly what the space needs in order to thrive. So reflectors are the only type that basically in human design you have 9 energy centers, and the way that they're colored in and the way that they speak to each other determines what energy type you are. So everybody in the world pretty much will have at least 2 energy centers colored in and defined, and that determines your energy type. Reflectors are only 1% of the population, so they're super rare, and Lianne is a reflector, and they have their energy centers completely white. And that basically means that they have no consistent energy of their own, and they're really here to be a blank slate. And essentially the purpose of reflectors in like kind of tribal times was they were the people that were here to be at the center of the tribe. And the well-being and health of a reflector was always an indication of how well the tribe was doing. So often the reflector would be there, people would come to them, and they could reflect back what they needed in order to thrive. So they're really here to be the ultimate chameleons. Like they're gonna they get a read on everybody like nobody else can because they're so open. They really are like my teacher used this analogy of like ice cream flavors. So reflectors are like water, and because they're so open, they can go out into the world and they can experience what it's like to be chocolate and vanilla and mint and caramel, but then they come back to themselves and they're just plain water. And it's not to say that they don't have a personality, okay? Like that's different, because like within them they still have a profile, so that they still have energy within them and things within them that are consistent, but their energy type and the way that they work is designed to be neutral. So they will go with a group of firefighters and they'll be like a firefighter and they'll be all fired up. I want to be a firefighter. This is amazing. And then they'll go away and they'll be with a group of dancers and they're like, nope, this is it. I want to be a dancer. This is the best thing ever. I can feel all the passion from everybody else. And really what reflectors' job is to do is to not attach to any of the identities that they think that they know about themselves or they think that they're experiencing from other people. So really it's about kind of they can go out and experience what it's like to be anyone in the world. And that's amazing. And that's a good thing because they deeply understand people on an incredible level. They don't have consistent energy within them, but then they can come back and return to that blank slate. So the strategy for a reflector is to wait a lunar cycle. And the reason for that is because they're really here to kind of because they're so open and because they don't have any defined energy within them, that solar energy that kind of determines them, they're actually what we call lunar beings. They're ruled by the moon, where every other type is ruled by the sun. So because they're so open, there's only kind of like one consistent cycle that's kind of short enough that they can experience life from like every different angle. They can experience a decision or experience something from every different angle before they can then make a decision of like where they want to go or what they want to do. So the strategy for them is to really kind of, because they're experiencing life with like through lots of different people and they're being influenced by the energy of the moon and so many other things, when they've experienced a certain thing or a certain part of life from every different perspective of like the different energetic episodes of the moon, and they've returned back to that neutral point, that's when they can start to get clarity. Or when they've kind of waited for a long time to make a big decision. It's not necessarily in the small decisions in the day-to-day life. For a generator, that's super important. A generator can like be like, I want to eat pizza. I want to go to the shop today. I want to go to the shop instead of go to the restaurant. And that's because the universe is really leading them, because it wants it to go to the shop, because then they might meet the love of their life there, or they might meet their business partner that's going to change their life. So like generators, it's more about the small decisions and like the small actions that they take in their day-to-day life, getting them to where they need to be. Reflectors, that's different. When they're waiting a lunar cycle, it's more about bigger picture decisions. And really, reflectors are most influenced by their environment. So because like where a reflector feels good and well, it's really kind of like the universe and life carrying them and being like, this is an environment that's correct for you. It feels good. You're going to feel good here. So it's really about right place, right time with reflectors. But then when they're in an environment that really feels bad, that feels negative, they get ill, they get sick, they feel depleted, something doesn't feel right, it's really a sign that that's not the correct environment for them and they need to move on, or they need to remove themselves and go somewhere else. So your environment as a reflector is the thing that's going to communicate with you the smaller day-to-day things. And then to make bigger decisions as a reflector, it's really important that you just give yourself as much time and space as you can to experience that decision from those different energetic vantage points before you can then make a decision. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Lianne, because I know being a reflector, you probably have something to share.
It's funny, after listening to all the others and then mine again, I'm back to, I don't want to be a reflector. No, but yeah, I totally see that, and also not knowing it can be really confusing, because you do begin to think, can I ever make my mind up? It's like, am I really that influenced? And I think for me, what I've really been enjoying is going, wow, I can just experience this, I can sample it,
Mm-hmm.
and I can let it go. I don't need to make any major decisions. I don't need to, change my trajectory because I've suddenly been inspired something, but I can take in the inspiration from that. It's almost like kind of, what's the essence of it that really lit me up? Okay, I'll take that, thank you. But I
Yeah.
don't need to get blown by the wind or confused. And yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's I'm enjoying it more and more, a quality. And I think because human design is about, where did you get conditioned to think differently and try to be different? Because I know I've been told that all my life. You're not focused enough. There's a lot that I need to, you're not, and what do you do? Who are you? What? I don't know.
Like what's your authentic self, and like all of that kind of like
Yeah,
languaging that's so big in the wellness industry right now is like, who are you? Like what
yeah,
makes you unique? And it's like, well, actually, as a reflector, that's not energetically correct for them to determine. They don't need to, because they're going to be different in whatever environment. They're going to be always a reflection of their environment, and that can change. And actually, it's learning to like see that as a good thing, see that as something that you can kind of, because like I think, when we first started working together, we were like coaching together, and one thing that I really noticed from you was you were able to reflect back to me feelings that I had that I didn't even know were there, but you were able to put words to them. Because when you're open in human design, wherever you have an open energy center and someone else has a defined energy center, you're sampling that. So, but you're also amplifying it. So you're able to feel much more deeply what other people can feel. Like what other people are feeling, that maybe for them it's like a 1 or a 2, but for you it's like a 6 or a 7. So like you're understanding it, you're amplifying it, and because of that, you're able then to reflect back what that person needs and really see it in a deep way that other people can't. So like even that is like such a gift in itself. But I guess it's like learning and understanding it. And also, that can work on the flip side of, you're in a bad mood. Why are you in a bad mood with me? And like they're at a 2 and you're feeling at a 10 and you're angry with them. And like, so like but it's cool to know, because when you understand that you're probably amplifying it and you're reading things on a way deeper level than most other people are, then that kind of like helps you to just have consciousness around how your energy works, I think is all this really is. But yeah.
and decipher. I think it is that thing, deciphering when it's like, no, this isn't mine. But
Mm-hmm.
I really reckon, I remember even as a kid often thinking, these aren't my feelings. And it was really confusing, but I was really clear. It's like, these are not mine. I
Mm.
didn't, then you're just confused, because you're just like, why the hell am I, why have I got such a strong opinion on this? Or why have I don't know. But then you're around somebody that has.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm really beginning to realize when it goes, no, that's me. There is a, from whatever else my profile brings,
Yeah.
my element and everything else, it's like, no, I'm really beginning to realize now, and it's like, oh, I've just taken that on. And
Mm-hmm.
also trusting my I don't know, sometimes like if I'm with people, I do know what they're thinking. I do know what they're feeling. And that's okay. And it's just like, oh, it's okay. It's kind of just take that on, notice it, and it gets stronger and it becomes more um beneficial, I think, for you and everybody else.
Yeah, yeah,
And you're just in your energy, how you should be in your energy.
yeah, absolutely.
And then
Um,
the signature, isn't it? The signature is
Yeah, so the signature for a reflector is the feeling of like surprise and delight. So as we were talking about before, that like right place, right time, because they are inconsistent completely and they're not really here to attach to an identity, but just to experience what it's like to be around people, to be in environments, to just have an experience, then if they're not attached or to anything, if they're not expecting, if they're just kind of like open to experiencing, then that's really where life can just surprise and delight them. So that's that like right place, right time, like, oh, I'm going to go to the co-working space today, and then like something's going to show up and it's going to be like the best thing ever, and I didn't see it coming, and that's really what that's when the universe is kind of communicating to you that you're on the right path.
yeah,
um, and then their not self theme is disappointment. So that's really when they're feeling disappointed by life, when they're feeling let down, and again, it's probably holding on to those expectations and those identities and those, you know, like that feeling of maybe even expecting consistency from life. And that's not really like what they're here to experience.
yeah,
Um, and also, they are super sensitive, but we really need them at the center because they're the people that are going to be able to teach us what we need to do to change or what we need to do to kind of, you know, morph and shift. And also as I mentioned before, when we're around other energy types and we have an open center that they have defined, then we can sample that energy and use it. So it doesn't mean as a reflector that you have no consistent energy of your own. So that means that you can't work. And that's the case with any types, like projectors as well. Like you can be in the room with a generator and you can use that energy to help you work and help you kind of be consistent for the day. And then you're going to go away and clear out and just be your kind of like watery, net neutral self. But actually, there's like, there's incredible successful business owners that are reflectors. So it's not to say that you can't do the doing, but it's about learning how your energy works, using it strategically and paying attention. Like when I'm around this person, I actually can do all that. And then I just need to make sure that I go and clear out and rest. And yeah, the same for projectors as well. Like it doesn't mean that they can't work. They can kind of use that partnership with other energy types to kind of spur them on.
mm,
Um, so again, like we've just scratched the surface and like not even close to probably done any of the energy types justice in the way that I've explained them there. Like there's so much more and it's so nuanced. And then it all depends on like, how if you've got a defined head at ajna linked to your throat, then maybe you're here to, speak more. Like, so there's way more to it than that.
yeah,
Really, when we're learning our strategy, which is what we've gone into today, and then also looking at your authority, which is how you make decisions. So again, with human design, if you're using your energy and exchanging your energy in a way that's correct for you, and then you're using your authority to make the decisions in life, even in the like those smaller ones, then the universe will guide you on that path and like living out your design and living out all your purpose anyway. So I love human design in the way you don't need to kind of like think too far ahead, or you don't need to know your purpose. It's going to help you discover your purpose in those like smaller day-to-day steps. And that's like super, super empowering for people when they start to really put it into practice.
yeah, yeah. Wow, there's a lot to consider there. If you do want to know your design, you can check out the link below. You need the same information as you do for your astrology chart, so your time, place.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And if you don't have your exact
you can
birth
know
time,
your birthday, huh?
yeah, and I would say your birth time is fairly important with human design, like more so than astrology. So what I would say is if you don't know your exact birth time, try a few times in the day, and just see how much changes. Because sometimes you can be the same energy type throughout the day, and then other times your energy type can change like 5 times in a day. And it's really, so you kind of do need your birth time, even if you can get like an approximate and you were born within like 3 and 6 in the morning. Try those a few times within that time frame and see what changes, and just pay attention and like just pay attention to those things. Um, But yeah, you're mostly looking energy type, profile, strategy, and authority. That if they change, then we know that you're probably, if they don't change, then you know that's probably going to be mostly your design, and there might just be a few small changes. But yeah, it's a fascinating system. Yeah, my body graph or genetic matrix, I'll put the details below, and then you can have a little look and pull up your chart and yeah, start your journey. And there's so many videos, so many resources on YouTube to kind of help you to go deeper and start to understand the system as well.
So thank you for joining us. I think we're going to do a few more of these human design chats as well for Wise Women Weekly. So subscribe if you'd like to follow us. We talk about lots of different things. Like I said before, there's 13 wise women. We have different guests on to talk about everything and anything. So yeah, subscribe and follow us. And thank you for joining us. Thank you, Hannah. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.